So far, we've looked at 5 false beliefs that are taking away our responsibility. 3 of those have to do with our health, and that's where we've been tricked into believing that when we get sick, it's not because of what we do, it's not because of our lifestyle choices, but instead we've been tricked into believing that it's the germs, the bacteria, the viruses, our genes, blame it on your parents, our old age, blame it on Father Time. We also looked at 2 false beliefs that have to do with our actions in the here and now. And once again, we've been tricked into not focusing on the here and now, but instead to focus on the prior life and the afterlife. We have to understand that the people who rule the world are con artists. They're magicians. They're masters of illusion. They're masters of misdirection. And they misdirect all of our so-called experts to make sure that none of them, and therefore none of us, ever figure out that there's a simple solution to our illnesses and our ill behaviors. So, to take a step back and look at the big picture, I've created a very special teaching tool to help me explain everything. And you can click here and go to a playlist that has the ultimate schematic that explains how this tool works. But the thing is, you don't need to know how the tool works. For now, just be aware that I'm going to be focusing on the first 3 main pieces out of the 281 pieces that I've identified in this special teaching tool. And the first piece, piece number 1, that's the knowledge we need. That's the knowledge we're missing. That's the knowledge we need to solve every problem that is 100% within our control. That's piece number 1. And piece number 2 is the false knowledge we have in its place. You see, piece number 2 is the main reason why we can't find the knowledge we need. And that's because we cannot learn anything when we think we already know. So piece number 2 is a huge problem of knowledge. And then there are 19 obstacles or 19 reasons why we don't know, or why we don't know. We have 2 forms of ignorance that we don't know. There's knowledge we're missing, that's missing knowledge, it's lost knowledge. And then there's the false knowledge we have in its place. And then the number 1 source for false knowledge, that's piece number 3. That's what's really keeping this false knowledge alive. That's why we have all these false beliefs. Piece number 3 represents the dark side of our behavior. And the dark side of our behavior is not part of our DNA as we've been told. See, that's why I'm exposing part of the lies that are in our subsequent needs for religion and spirituality. Remember, we have subsequent needs because we're disconnected. And those are pieces 34.1 to 34.7, or 10. And then 34.5 is our subsequent need for religion and spirituality. It's one of our subsequent needs because things aren't right anymore. We're not connected. We don't have piece 30, which is a community that we are connected to. So we have this subsequent need, but the way the rulers of the world work, they use our needs to control us. There's a common link, I've said this before, between solving all of our problems that are 100% within our control, conquering nations, and controlling the masses. And it all has to do with our needs. How do you solve problems that are within your control? Satisfy your needs. How do you conquer nations? Don't let them satisfy their needs. How do you control the masses? You don't let them satisfy their needs. You can do that overtly and withhold their food, and you can poison their food, and you can do it even more subtly than that and just don't teach them the right knowledge. Misdirect all the educators, all the so-called experts. So that's what piece number 3 is doing. It's the dark side of our behavior. It's an effect. We did something that created it, so it's not part of our DNA. That's why we're not born of sin. That's why I exposed this one lie. But remember, everything we need can be used against us, so 6 of those subsequent needs from being disconnected are also problems of knowledge, and I listed those as 7.1 to 7.6, and they're the same as 34.1 to 34.6. So now 7.5 is where we have false beliefs that are keeping us from taking responsibility. When we're told that we're born of sin and that you have a dark side to your behavior and there's nothing you can do about it, that's wrong. The people who rule the world want you to believe that. So all of these false beliefs I'm exposing right now are contrived. They've been paid for. The people who rule the world have to control our health. Remember, everything in our society of any significance has everything to do with our health. And that's why the status quo, in order for the status quo to remain the status quo, it has to control everything related to health. That's why doctors and nutritionists are not our true experts when it comes to these fields of health. So here's another false belief right now, is that when you get sick, you go to a doctor. Or conventional medicine, allopathic medicine, are experts in health. That's a false belief. And they've been tricked. See, the people who rule the world are tricksters, they're magicians. They misdirect our so-called experts, they trick them, and then our so-called experts turn around and trick us. Oh, you got the flu, you got this virus, can't catch that mysterious virus. Remember, to our conventional physicians, to them, disease is a mystery. They have no idea the cause of disease, and they openly admit that 90% of the time. But they can't say cause unknown all the time, can they? That's why they've been lied to and said, well, let's use germs and genes in old age. That's outside their control, so that won't affect our story, right? Remember, their story is, it's not your fault. Just keep doing what you're doing. Diet has no effect whatsoever on these type of illnesses. And all old people get sick. What's wrong with you? What do you expect? You're getting old. These are lies that take away our responsibility. And the problem with all of these false beliefs is we have way too many references that support these false beliefs. And there's really only one way to challenge that many references, and that's with a brand new reference. And that's when you do the first of a three-step process that I perfected. You can click right here and go to a video I uploaded that is a seminar I gave that explains how to do the first of my three-step process. We do this on a temporary basis so we can see what we're missing and then be in a better position to correct some very simple basic mistakes. But until we have this brand new reference, it's going to be hard for us to overcome something that has so many references where we think that you catch a cold. I have not been sick in well over 30 years. And that was mainly because I started exercising a lot. But then I started changing my diet. And since then, and since I got into cleaning my system out, I've never been sick. I don't get colds, I don't get flus, I don't get headaches or fevers, or I don't have any of these symptoms. Only people who don't live properly are the ones who come down with a cold or a flu. Now, this doesn't mean you can't get food poisoning or something. Any type of poison is going to affect you. We're not immune to filth and waste matter. So that doesn't mean people who live healthily still can't get sick if something happens to them like that. You can drink contaminated water or eat contaminated food that's been exposed with contamination from upstream, which happens all the time now. And then what's blamed is the food it lands on instead of where it came from. So without this new reference, it's virtually impossible to wrap our brain around the idea that colds are not contagious, that HIV doesn't cause AIDS. This is all total garbage. It's a lie. Viruses do not cause the diseases they claim that they do. And we have to understand that, because when you look at the top 3 drug companies in the world, they make more money than all the other Fortune 500 companies combined, just about. It's amazing how much money they make compared to all the rest. The key here is that the patents on some very big money makers are about to expire. And now there's somewhere between 200 to 400, at least, vaccines are in the pipeline that are going to be foisted upon us because they found the virus that's causing the problem. So the belief in a virus allows for a vaccine myth. And this is one of the biggest scams that's ever been foisted upon the human population. That's why the germ theory of disease, the very first false belief I mentioned, is what I believe to be the most dangerous false belief we have. This contagion myth that we think things are contagious. This is the way we'll line up to take the shot, and the poison will be in the shot. And if you don't think it can happen, you need to do a little research. Research democide. University of Hawaii a couple years back did a study, and they found 262 million people were murdered during peacetime by the governments. Why was that? Because they were the upper middle class. That's the people that the rulers of the world fear the most. It's the children of the upper middle class. Look at Pol Pot in Cambodia, the killing fields. If you wore glasses, you were dead. If you could read, you're a threat to the state. So, and this is sort of in response to a video I saw recently of Bill Gates saying what he's mostly afraid of. And he recapped last century and said, look how many people were murdered in this world war and this world war, and then look at the pandemic. Look at the 3 big extinctions that happened to us. Oh, I'm afraid it's going to happen again. We better be prepared with the vaccines. Well, that's how it happened in the first time. All 3 of those events were initiated by the rulers of the world. You don't believe me? Google, all wars are bankers' wars. And what you're going to find is the bankers finance both sides of the war. And this is how the rulers of the world work. They're psychopaths. And their MO is to divide and conquer. They get us distracted. That's the key. That's why I said long ago that if you're not getting reconnected, you're getting distracted. So it doesn't do any good to focus on piece number 3. It doesn't matter who they are. This isn't about persecution and locking them up and torturing them like they've been torturing us. The solution is to be aware of what they're doing so we can correct and do damage, or correct the damage they've done, or do damage control. But the thing is, we got to focus on ourselves. The solution lies within. The solution does not come from attacking what is against us. Can't be ignorant about what's against us, but we don't want to focus our energies on attacking them. It doesn't matter who they are, because who knows who they are, right? You hear all these stories, and how do you know that every one of them are contrived? We don't. I don't think that's how it works. I'm convinced there's some history somewhere to be found, and you can, if you're good at connecting the dots, then you can see how certain pieces fit together, and it's really obvious. But the thing that is the scariest of all, besides this thing trying to fly in my ear, is our belief in contagion. Our belief that when we get sick, go to the doctors. That's why health insurance is a blunder upon a blunder. So here's 2 more false beliefs I've introduced into this video. The 6th false belief is that allopathic medicine, our current conventional system, are experts in health, and then when you get sick, you better go to them. I'm not talking about things outside of control. That's piece 104. You can go here, click what I mean about, if you want to know what I mean by that. Those are problems outside of control. Yes, we need them. That's what they're good for, but not the 103s that are lifestyle related. So that's false belief number 6, and then false belief number 7 is a belief that we need universal health care coverage. Now, I think we should have universal health care accident coverage, but not coverage that applies to a problem that's within our control or lifestyle related, which is what our healthcare system is financing. So it's a blunder to finance a system that's a blunder. And what drives me crazy is knowing that 99% of people who talk about healthcare or universal healthcare are not qualified to do so, especially doctors. That's right. 99% of doctors are not qualified to talk about universal healthcare. Why? Because they don't know what causes disease. They've been misdirected. They're not our experts. They've been duped, and they're duping us. And we'll continue to be fools if we don't wake up to this nightmare. We have to take responsibility. It all begins with you, the individual. And if you haven't already done this before, you need to do it. And if you have done it before, then you know how important it is, and you should tell everyone you know. And please don't get discouraged when a lot of people aren't ready for this. That's why we have to reach the tipping point. Because if we don't reach the tipping point, things will never change. Sure, we can help out a lot of people that are suffering, but no man is an island. The individual cannot escape the collective. As long as the vast majority of people are disconnected, we're still in Plato's cave. We're still in a cave of ignorance where we'll never be the best that we can be. So if you haven't taken the first step, please do so. You'll be surprised it's not as hard as you think. I get that comment from everyone who does this. The first 3 days obviously are going to be tough just because we miss doing what we're doing. But once we get over that, every day for most of us gets better and better and better, to a point where we have the aha moment, the brand new reference that you're going to need to understand that all these false beliefs I'm telling you right now are indeed false. And every one of them takes away our responsibility. Insurance takes away your responsibility. Oh, I got insurance. It doesn't matter if I get sick. Driving a car, it doesn't matter if I reckon to somebody, I got it covered. Every belief that takes away our responsibility, that does not tie into something outside of control, like an act of nature or an accident, and as long as most of us are doing the wrong thing, acts of war, crime, and violence, those, yes, we can blame other people for those problems. Otherwise, virtually every problem that we face as a species is self-inflicted. And until you have a brand new reference, you're going to have a hard time figuring that out. So click here, do the first of my 3-step process if you already haven't done so, and when you do, I guarantee you, you're in for a treat.